Coach, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here. Obviously, anytime you're preparing to play a game at this time of year, it means you're still alive, and this is where you want to be as a coach in a program. And I know these players are excited that we get to represent what I think is the absolute best university in the world. And when we put that uniform on, we understand that we're doing a lot more than just playing a basketball game, but we're showcasing what I think is one of the most unique educational experiences that you can get. And we're really blessed that we get to do that, and we get to do that on a really big stage, on a national spotlight, a nationally televised game against one of the all-time great programs in the history of women's basketball in their home court and in this great basketball state. So we are so thrilled, excited to be here, and we're ready and we're rested, I think. We got another night to get a good rest, but yesterday was an exhausting, difficult game, so we're going to have to be really sharp about how we bounce back and prepare for a really, really good Tennessee team.
All right, we'll now take questions for student athletes Destinee Wells and Madison Bartley. Right over here on the right.
For both Madison and Destinee, Maria Cornelius, 247 Sports, Tennessee. Just what is the significance of playing the second round game here against Tennessee, and how are you guys doing after that? I mean, it was a huge win yesterday. Have you come down from that, or are you still sort of riding that high?
I would say that we always talk about, look in the mirror for 15 minutes is what Coach Bart tells us. And after that 15 minutes, it's like we have so much adrenaline from yesterday. So we just try to calm down last night. We had our fun, we celebrated, but now today is focusing on Tennessee, and we need to get our mind straight for Tennessee today. And I think that is just what we're focusing on.
Yeah, we're really proud of ourselves and the way we played last night, and now we're just turning the page and getting ready for Tennessee. I mean, I'm so happy to be here. Can't wait to play in front of that huge crowd and on this big stage. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Kellyanne, you're in front.
Kellyanne Stitz, WATE. This is either for Destinee or Madison. What does it say about this team to outlast Oregon in double overtime and just how tough you guys are?
I would say as a team, throughout the year, we have always focused on being tough and being together. And that's just one thing that we've always focused on. And I think yesterday we really showed the world that we can fight through adversity, and that we fought through every single overtime that we went through. I think if we would have even went one more, we still would have fought through and won that game. And I'm just proud of our team for fighting and sticking through together.
Cora Hall, and then Teresa.
Cora Hall, the Knoxville Sentinel. This is for either of you guys, but you guys obviously faced a lot of size last night, and you're going to face that again inside with Tennessee. Do you feel like that was almost kind of a blessing to have that first round challenge to kind of learn and prepare for now Tennessee?
I mean, that's exactly what we played against in our non-conference schedule, and me being so small is what I played against my whole life. So, I mean, we're going to be ready. Just come out there and fight like we do every game.
Yeah, I would say last night the size definitely prepared me for tomorrow. Playing against, they were great bigs, and it really prepared me to be ready for bigger sizes tomorrow, and I think that's something that all of us can take away from.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press. I've got two questions. First for Madison. When you're trying to stand in there in the paint against somebody that's maybe bigger, what's the keys to doing that and holding your ground?
That's so funny you asked that. Today we talked about, Coach Bart made a really good point. The lower person wins. And so just getting low and, using all my strength in my legs and pushing them back, or pushing them up when I'm on defense, and just making sure they don't get position is something that we really focus on when we're doing post play. And just trying to gain our position and stay in our position is something that's really important to us.
And then, Destinee, you're a Tennessee native. Growing up playing basketball in this state, obviously Tennessee's not won a national title in a few years now, but how aware are you of their history and what it means to women's basketball? Does that add to the aura around this game, in addition to the stakes that are on the line tomorrow night?
I mean, yeah, Tennessee is a really great team. I know a little bit about their history, how many championships they won. They're just a great team all around, and I'm just happy to be here and get to play against a great team and basically show what I can do and play against this great crowd on a great floor, and I'm just really excited.
Right over here on the right.
For both players, the Belmont fans turned yesterday into a home game. I mean, they were loud. The majority were right behind me, and it was deafening behind me. Did they all stay in town? Are you expecting a good turnout of your fans for tomorrow night?
I'm going to say yes. We found out the students got a provost letter, so we're hoping the whole school turns up, and that would be just amazing for us. And even yesterday, our fans were such a big part of that win, hearing them cheer with us and celebrate. And like you said, they made it a home game for us, and only being 3 hours away is really big, just a really big difference for us.
Yeah, especially coming from last year where we couldn't really have fans. And, it was amazing to see how many people actually support us and were willing to make this drive. And I'm excited to celebrate with my family after every game, and they were there, so it meant a lot to me.
This for either of you guys. Bart said last night that in regard to kind of the chip on your guys' shoulder, there are players who felt under-recruited, felt like they could be at this level too, and that kind of drives the chip on your shoulder. Is that kind of the feeling that you guys have, that you can still be really competitive, and does that kind of drive your guys' team?
Oh, yeah. Rankings don't really matter to us. We just come out there, we play our game, and we know we can basically compete with anybody in the country, and we just have to show it. And I feel like our fight against Oregon really showed that.
Yeah, and I think something I was always told is that everyone puts their shoes on the same. And that's something that I go by. So when she said rankings don't really matter, when it comes to this part of the season, whoever's the toughest team is going to go out there and fight and win the game.
Down here on the left.
Tyler Wombles with the Daily Times. For either player, going back to that win against Oregon, it was apparent just how much you had to fight to get that one, and you eventually did. Is there anything that you guys said to each other or to teammates to sort of get yourselves amped up and know that, we can overcome this in overtime?
Something we've been saying to ourselves in the locker room all year, just stay the course. And I feel like that was what we did, and play together. It's one of our keys to our game, every single game. Be resilient together, and I feel like we showed that.
Yeah, and I feel like last night, all of us, through the tough times and the good times, we all looked at each other and we were like, we got this. Every time someone looked down, I know I looked at Dee and it was 6 seconds left. And she was like, we got this. And I was like, yeah, we got to get a stop, though. Six seconds left still. I was still worried about the 6 seconds. But that was our key. We got this, and we backed each other up that whole entire game. No matter if we were high or low, we had each other's backs. And that's something that's super important in our program.
Any more questions for our student athletes? All right. Destinee, Madison, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Now I'll open up and take questions for head coach Bart Brooks. Over here on the right, Maria.
Coach, is it time to retire the term mid-major? Have we got to come up with a much better word than that?
I like it when we can motivate our players that people think we're mid-major players, that we're a level below. That's a cool spot to be in as a coach, that you can use that as motivation. I've said this about Destinee and Jamelin and Tootie. We'll have the three smallest guards on the floor most of the time tomorrow night, and three smallest players on the floor. There's nothing small about how they play, and there's nothing small about how we operate our program. There's nothing small about running a program that has an emphasis on basketball at a high level, on academics at a high level, on community engagement at a high level, on spiritual growth at a high level. And, we can offer all four of those things at a really high level. There's nothing small about that. There's nothing small about Belmont. And that's what we preach to these kids when we recruited them. That's what we preach to them when we coach them. And when we get a chance to compete against the big guys, we don't view ourselves as small or mid-major. We view ourselves as equals. And we love the opportunity to go prove that. And so, Destinee's been playing against bigger kids her whole life. I mean, what's the difference in 6'6" and 6'3" when you're little? There's not that big a difference, So I'm just excited for these kids. They get a chance to compete at that level. And, the mid-major thing, I love it to motivate them. But other than that, yeah, let's get rid of it.
Teresa down here in front.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press. Bart, you say that and viewing yourselves as equal, but when it comes to NCAA tradition and tournament history, there is a big gap between the program you're going to face and what you all are building there at Belmont. What's the approach? How do you attack, dealing with and talk about dealing with facing that team that, sometimes just seeing that name on the front of the jersey can be intimidating in itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the outside looking in, it's a big name when you see it in women's basketball. We went to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame on, I don't know what day it is anymore, whatever day before our first game, and it's pretty hard to walk away from that building without having myself having a huge respect for this program, but to just really understand what this program has done for the women's game. But when we play, it's not about a name on a jersey. It's not about a ranking or a number next to a team. It is about the matchup, and it's about the player that's in front of you and you doing your job and executing the possession. And, we don't have to play against the however many national championships. We have to play against this Tennessee team tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And that's what we're preparing for. And our players, we don't talk about all this outside stuff. We don't talk about it. We talk about executing the possession that's in front of us and how we're going to get our shots, how we got to defend them, what we got to take away, play to our strengths, try to exploit their weaknesses. So, I think maybe from the outside looking in, that could be an issue, but I think our players are pretty focused on what their job is and who they're competing against. And they know these players. I mean, they played against them in AAU and, growing up, there's a lot of familiarity with their roster. So, I don't think it's going to. I know we're not going to be scared of these guys. We're gonna come out swinging.
Madison Hawk, WBIR TV. Coach, obviously the 12 threes played a huge factor in yesterday's win, but Belmont was outworked in the paint and out-rebounded. So when you approach Tennessee and a player like Tamari Key, just how do you defend that?
Yeah, speaking of Belmont being a great place, case in point right there in Miss Madison. They got a lot. I can't remember the exact number of offensive rebounds they got last night, but their second chance points were pretty small. So that a lot of those second chance shots they got were still guarded, tough shots, and I think that's a really big key for us. That I don't expect us to beat them on the boards tomorrow. If we scrap and claw and fight and do the best we can, we're probably still going to give some up. But those can't turn into easy layups, and I think that's been a really big key. And they're unbelievable on the glass. I mean, this is probably the best rebounding team we'll play against this year. So we've got our hands full in there, and I thought we played against a really big, aggressive offensive rebounding team last night, and they exploited us some, and I thought we did a pretty good job of fighting and competing, though. And there's things we're going to give up, but hopefully we can take advantage of some things at the other end. And that's why basketball is a beautiful game. You can win a lot of different ways. And I think our last two tournament wins, we've been out rebounded by about 20 a game. We've won the games. So there's a lot of different ways to win basketball games.
Cora Hall.
You touched on it a little bit, but based on what you saw from Tennessee yesterday, where do you feel like you guys can find the most success against a team that is definitely kind of similar matchup-wise to Oregon, with big presence in the middle and guards on the outside?
Well, I don't think Tennessee has a shot blocker, do they? They have a good shot blocker. I'm kidding. They have a great shot blocker. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of similarities, and then also I think a lot of differences. I think Tennessee is one of the best, most disciplined defensive teams that we'll play against. I think they do a really good job of making things difficult. I'm not sure. I wish I had a better answer for you. I watched a lot of film, and sometimes as a coach, when you prepare for these games, you're just waiting for that get struck by lightning and have a epiphany about how we're going to get it done. And I'm not sure I'm to that place yet, but we've got a lot of stuff in our back pocket that we can use, and our normal flow and our concepts that I think is gonna get us some looks. And then as we play and as we understand how we're being guarded in certain scenarios and situations, we've got to adjust and be ready to adjust. And there's a lot of different ways that we can attack them, but the biggest part of it is they're really, really solid at that end of the floor. So we're going to have to work really hard to get shots, and when we get them, we got to make them.
Any more questions for Coach? Right here, Teresa.
Coach, you said your team will not be intimidated, and you bring up a really good point. Historically speaking, in these NCAA tournament games, particularly the first and second round, jersey names would intimidate. You could see it on the faces when the player stepped on the court. Tennessee benefited from that for years. UConn has benefited from that for years. I am seeing that across the country. These teams are not walking out there scared. They're walking out there ready to challenge. One thing Pat Summitt wanted, she worked her whole career for, was parity in the women's game. Do you think it has finally gotten to that point? And obviously can go further, but do you think we can say that women's basketball parity has finally arrived?
I think so. I mean, I think there's the gap between a 14 seed and a 3 seed. I didn't watch the game, but I saw the score, the LSU score yesterday, and there's a lot of really good basketball teams out there. Whoever played Iowa State, that was a really tough game on Iowa. I mean, I think there's really competitive programs at all levels of women's basketball. And when you get in this tournament, the beauty of this tournament is it's one game. It's not a 7-game series. It's a one game. The day you play, you got to be really good, and you got to beat them one time. And I think that there's magic in that these players understand. It's anything is possible at this time of year. And I think the parity of the women's game, since I've been in it, I've got a little bit of gray hair. So I've been doing this for a little while as an assistant and now as a head coach, and I think it's exponentially better than it's been when I started, and I see it continuing to get better, especially the more, being on national TV yesterday. So, wherever you are in the United States, you could have watched that game. That's a really cool thing for our program.
Cora?
There's certainly much more pressure on Tennessee to win this game, who hasn't been to a Sweet 16 since 2015-16. And with the history of the program, there's that expectation. Is that kind of, in a way, maybe freeing for your team to not have that load of expectation of you have to win this game to live up to these expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be. I think there's whatever position you're in as a coach, I think you use it to your advantage. And if you're Tennessee, you approach it one way. If you're us, you approach it another way. And I think we're going to use that to our advantage, that we're coming after it. We talk all the time that, you're never defending anything in this sport. You've got to go take it. You've got to go take it. And that no one's going to hand it to you. It's not going to be given to you. You've got to go take it. You've got to earn it. And that's the approach that our players have had all year. And, that's what we're going to, as we enter this game, that's how we're going to look at it. And, the pressure, everyone handles that differently. We've got a unbelievable baseball coach, Coach Jarvis, who told me pressure is like unicorns and dragons. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It's in the mind, and that's it. So I think players handle that differently. Programs handle that differently. But we'll try to use that to our advantage as best we can, for sure.
We've got time for one more. All right. Thank you, Coach, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.